Here we go. We're live. Boys weekend.
Yeah.
We're going rogue.
Boss is out of town. So.
Boss is out of town. Tina's not here to tell us what to do. How do we got to have everything prepared? So we're going straight rogue. We're going to have straight up. Josh and I have not discussed anything about the topic we're going to talk about
Tina,
today.
you're going to love it.
Tina, you're going to love this. Hopefully, if it doesn't work out, we're going to delete it. So we got options. But we're going to talk about macronutrients and why we don't use macronutrients, why we don't make this the main concept of our nutrition plan, why, we just generally speaking, we found over a long period of time we've tried it in the past.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Why we found it didn't really work very well or for a long period of time. So, yeah, we're just going to go get after it and get started into why we don't do macros. And let's just start with, how long did we try to do macros, Josh?
Well, let's see. I've been with you since 2013 and probably all the way up when you say probably the first 10 years.
Yeah,
and
I would say we kind of ditched them maybe 3 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
So
a long time.
So we tried for a long time, and it's not that they don't work. Like if you track your macros, you'll probably get results most likely if you're following a plan. However, the biggest thing is we just seen too many people go down and then up and up and down because tracking macros is really hard.
Mm-hmm. If you're going to do it right, it's very time consuming and very hard to do.
And just fatiguing. So like while people are excited when they first do it, and obviously there's going to be plenty of people maybe that listen like, oh yeah, it works for me, but maybe it worked for you, but is it still working for you would be the big question, because we've had a lot of people track their macros, lose weight, whatever, get the results they're looking for. And then when the tracking stops, it was kind of like they didn't know what to do. If I'm not looking at macros, well, I don't know what to do.
Right.
Like everything just kind of falls off. Kind of similar to like, what's the one with counting the points? Weight Watchers.
Weight Watchers.
Weight Watchers. Mm-hmm. When people are tracking their points, they do well. But then all of a sudden when the points stop being calculated, it's like everything just goes out the window and we didn't really learn anything or can't look at a day's worth of food and make a decision like, did I do well today or did I not? Because I didn't know how many points it was, or I didn't know exactly how many grams of protein, carbohydrates, fats, all these things. It just becomes very overwhelming. So like I said, we've tried it. We've watched people succeed. We've watched people go right back because they couldn't maintain it. So that's when we decided at some point we have to scrap this. If it's not going to last for a long period of time, then let's scrap it and let's try to find a different way. And that's what we do now. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on macro, or, kind of looking back on it, like the goods, the bads, the uglies?
I've kind of found through meeting with people, I think for some people, it's important to have that education. Some people want to know the why. And so for some people, I will sit and I'll say, okay, and I'll preface it and say, we'll have this discussion. We'll go through these numbers. I will give you the education, but know that this is not where our focus is going to be. Some people need to just have that in the back of the, just to ease their mind on what we're doing here.
Yeah. I would agree. It's important to know what they are, and it's important to know what our food is made of. Like, is this a fat? Is this food mostly fat? Is this food mostly protein? Is it, so that way we can have a general idea that am I getting in the three main components of what they are.
And the next question is, how much do I have of each? So I think by saying, okay, well, we want our diet to be made up of 25% of this and 30% of this, it's helpful to help have them do that. But then we show, okay, this is what a plate looks like, and here's how we plate the food, and we can do all of that without counting it.
Yeah, and because being exact isn't what's important. Like, people, even if you are counting macros, like unfortunately like Fitness Pal and stuff, it shows like it gives you a goal, and as soon as you go 1 gram over, it's like it fires it red.
Yeah.
Like you have just broken the law because your day is screwed. You went 1 calorie over your goal, so now you're gaining weight. you went 1 gram over your fat, so now your fat intake is too high. And the reality is it's not true.
And let's be honest, when people are putting in those numbers into FitnessPal, we've all done it. We're manipulating the choices the things that we choose on there in order to, I know for me, it's to give me extra calories. I'm choosing the lower calorie ones.
Yeah. Or you overestimate.
That's true.
Because I'll make this, because it's safer to overguess than
Yes.
it is to underguess. Like, oh yeah, this little circle of chicken, it's got to be 4 ounces.
Right.
So I'm going to put 4 ounces, but it's really only 2.
Yep.
Because we didn't measure it or whatever. So then the accuracy becomes off anyways. So, the grand scheme of things is that we can pretty safely guess if we just try to get a certain amount of things into our diet, that it's all going to average out in the long run without counting meticulously every little calorie.
And I will throw something out there that Tina will love. Use the food scale.
Yeah, it's a good idea, like to just know. But again, it's not something we want to do every single day.
Yeah. But once you get an idea of where 4 ounces of chicken, what it looks like, you don't need to necessarily, measure it every day.
Nope. But once you know, and same thing with like your turkey or your like deli
Those
meat,
are good ones.
Those ones are important to measure because most people way overguess how many ounces of turkey they have.
I mean, how many times have we had people go, oh, I just put a slice or 2 on my sandwich. And then we go, well, go home and measure that. And what does 4 ounces of turkey look like?
Yeah. And it's way more than what you think. But so again, it's not that we shouldn't know this stuff. Like I said, there's certain things that are important to know. It's important to know what our food's made of. It's important to have a good idea, or make sure you do know what 4 ounces of something looks like, so you can make an appropriate, guess as to how much you should have or shouldn't have. But once you learn the basics, then you can make very educated decisions without having to measure every single day, without having to meticulously count every calorie or meticulously count every gram of fat, protein, carbs, sugar, and drive yourself crazy. Because then when you're not counting, then most people don't care.
Right.
Like, oh, if I didn't track today, then it's kind of like it just brushed under the rug and it doesn't matter, versus trying to make educated and like, yeah, I know I was pretty close to probably hitting my numbers. So, what would you say? Just like, we get people that come in, a lot thinking that's what's going to be the method that we're going to use. So what should we do? Like, what's the first suggestion you give to somebody to try to divert them away from wanting to count macros?
So that's usually where I dig into what we were talking about. I think it was last time with the Nutrition Foundation. And I said, before we even get there, let's focus on our fruits, our vegetables, our water. Let's focus on let's treat these as our foundational items. And I promise you, if we do these things right, it's going to send us in a direction where you're not going to think those macros are as important anymore.
Yeah. So fruits, vegetables, eating at home, protein, and drinking water.
Yep.
So those are very easy to add up in your mind. I know if I ate at home, I can very quickly know if I ate 2 fruits today, if I ate 2 vegetables today. I can tell if I drank water, and we can learn to look at our plate and see what protein looks like, or know what food items are high in protein and which ones aren't, without, like I said, having to count what all the calories and, like I said, get into FitnessPal and do all that stuff. So
keeping it simple. I mean,
simple wins every time. The people that buy into the simplicity generally have the most success. I would say the people that get stuck and can't get away from the macros probably tend to struggle the most. I don't know. What do you think?
I would think so. And that leading on to that, I think the people who, not that supplements are bad, but we have, some people will tend to supplement too much. And I mean, really keep it simple, eat real food. I mean, there's a place for supplements. There sure is. But when we're, trying to replace meals and trying to do all these other things with supplements, and that can be a whole nother conversation, but eat real food, do real sustainable things.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that is not a sexy and fun answer that I think people are looking for too. And sometimes I don't know. Do people almost want it to be complicated? Like, if it's not complicated, it must not work.
Probably. And well, every
Like,
time you
it
click
should
on,
be hard. Like,
No.
almost. Do people think that way? Like, sometimes, like, oh, for this to work, it's just got to be hard. So I need to make it hard. Otherwise, it can't be so simple as just doing the 5 things that we just said.
Well, I think it goes back to, you just said it's not sexy, you know, when you buy this product and it, you know, buying this magic product or this, you know, bottle of this
or getting on this certain dietary plan.
Yeah.
Like, oh, and then you get to brag how restricted you are, or talk about how restricted you are. I don't know if you're bragging or not, but people sure like to talk about it sometimes.
Oh yeah.
I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't do this. Versus like, what can you do? And that's what we're trying to emphasize is like, you know, before you ever even think about macros, is to just get that nutritional foundation, which we talk about a lot lately. But I just think it's really important that we keep driving it home. Is if we just talk about it once and then let it go, then it loses steam, versus like, we got to keep putting the message out there. Like, this works. We've seen it work a lot for a lot of people that just do the basics, those 5 basic things. And then we do dive in sometimes to macros once they can do the 5 main things, just to find out if there's any deficiency. Really, rarely is it we're overdoing anything. Most people are.
Or if we get to a point with someone who, you know, say we have a goal of weight loss and they're doing all these things and we're exercising more than we ever have. We're, you know, we're hitting those 5 foundations. We're doing all these things and maybe we're still not getting the desired results. So then it's a time that we go back and we dig into those. And sometimes we do have to dig into those macros a little deeper. There is a time and a place for it.
Yeah, and for sure. And like you said, most of the time it's because people have gone too far the wrong way where they're not getting enough of something. Right. So it's to encourage them to boost it up and get more. It's pretty, I would say maybe 10% need to cut back.
Oh, yeah. We definitely are adding more most of the time.
I would say 90% of the time when we work with somebody on their nutrition and they're doing the fruits, vegetables, protein, eating at home and drinking their water, we have to tell them to do more of it.
And what's that reaction that you get in the facial expression when you tell them?
Shock, usually. Like, that's against everything I've ever heard, is that I need to eat more to potentially lose weight.
So the way I try to encounter that with people is, you're doing a lot of good. We need to do more good.
Yeah. And that's usually, I mean, it's amazing how many times we've seen that work and shock people that eating the right amount and eating enough food is actually the magic, you know, secret ingredient, I guess, is just adding more good stuff. I'm not sure what the best way to say it. Keeping them out of what we call the frustration zone of doing all the right things, eating all the right stuff, exercising, and then not getting the result you're looking for, not losing the weight you're wanting. And then you're super frustrated and can't figure it out. And 90% of the time it's because they're under eating. So that's where it's important to start tracking calories, but it's so far down the line that we have to get there that, like I said, if we could give anybody, you know, the tip for today would just be simplify your nutrition to our main foundation of protein, not carbs. Now I'm on macros stuck in my head. Protein, fruits, vegetables, eating at home and drinking water.
Yep. And I would say if there's one thing more I could add to that is, if you're thinking about making a change or, you know, any of these dietary things, you know, ask yourself, can I do this for a week? And then answer it, or even have somebody else ask you these questions. Can I do it for 2 weeks? Can I do it for 4 weeks? Can I do it for 6 months? Can I do it for a year? Can I do it for 5 years? And if your answer to any of those questions is no,
you got to change it up.
Then you got to change it up. And that's why we get back to those foundations, because we want it to be simple for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Has anybody ever said, no, I can't eat 2 fruits a day forever?
No.
Have they ever said no to 2 vegetables, water?
We've had some people where at the beginning they might be, oh, well, I haven't ever eaten a vegetable, so we have to work on it.
But they don't think it's unrealistic that
Right.
if they learned how to do it, that they couldn't
Right.
maintain it.
Yeah, usually it's only 2.
Yeah. Or eating at home. Like nobody's ever said, no, I can never eat 5 meals at home per week forever. I think most people. So that's the nice part about, what we try to teach is it's always a yes, and it's always addition, not subtraction.
Right.
So, to me, nice, short, sweet discussion today. I don't think we need to get too much further into it,
No.
but like I said, macros is not necessarily the way to go. It might work for some. Like I said, there is a small percentage of people that it's going to work for, and for you and who like to track and who are super fascinated by numbers, counting macros probably does work for you. But for the majority, it's not the way to go. So try not to get too overwhelmed and caught up in the weeds. Stay away from it and try to simplify and just build your nutrition foundation.